And we are now joined by Anil Kumar Trigunayat, former Indian senior diplomat on the show. Welcome, sir, to the program. What would you say is the purpose of the meeting between President Zelensky and Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman due to happen on Monday?
Well, I think, as you are aware, that there was a disastrous meeting between President Zelensky and President Trump. And thereafter, it was expected, and as has happened, that the Ukrainians have been on the receiving end all through. And therefore, I feel that now they realize their limitations, that without the US backing, they won't be able to move forward at all. And so therefore, the letter that was mentioned earlier was written, in which the Ukraine has agreed to go in for the ceasefire and to continue discussions. Now, 2 weeks back, there was a meeting between the Russian and the American officials in Istanbul. And so they are individually talking to one another, although that was supposed to be a meeting which was claimed to have been only for bilateral relations. But since for President Trump, it is extremely important that this war ends, and he has been talking about it throughout his campaign, and ever since he joined, he has been working on it. He has spoken to Putin, he's met Zelensky, and he is trying to end this war. Now, what are going to be the contours of the change? I think that Zelensky has gone to Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia has been playing quite a cupid in this, even in exchanges of prisoners and others, and has provided. The earlier meeting, as you know, was also in Saudi Arabia. So therefore, I believe that now they are trying to work out some contours, some kind of a framework, taking into account something that can be doable. Fact remains is that the Ukrainians are at a receiving end, both on the battlefield and diplomatically also. So how much they will lose in the bargain, what will be the terms of the ceasefire? President Putin is continuing to maintain the pressure, as is President Trump. And we have seen the limitations of the European support as well. So I believe that this particular meeting between Zelensky and Mohammed bin Salman will probably just be trying to provide some kind of a comfort level and some assistance, while prodding Zelensky to go ahead and work on some kind of a deal with the Russians.
Okay, would Ukraine be looking for any sort of minimum guarantees in striking any peace deal? And do you see the US agreeing to those minimum guarantees in the talks, upcoming talks between Ukraine and the US?
Well, in the first place, as you know, that there could be a ceasefire, and that is very important. And as you know, yesterday, President Putin himself has directly addressed, which was also shown on the Croatian television, the Europeans, saying that he is not at war with them. He doesn't want to take anybody's territory. So I think that this is some messaging going on from all sides. And in that, of course, US and Russia will also have to give certain guarantees that it will not invade once again, which was given earlier and violated. But US may not give express guarantees at the moment. Guarantees, like the Europeans have said, that could be perhaps the guarantee, in which on the ground you will not have the European forces, but in the event of another aggression by Russia, the Europeans will come to the rescue. NATO membership is out, I think, for quite some time to come, and therefore they will have to depend on the investments coming in from USA, from other countries, and the president's goodwill, and a pressure on Putin also not to continue to indulge in aggression. But I doubt very much that there will be any express security guarantees that will be given to Zelensky.
And what would you say are going to be the key demands that Russia will be making before striking any peace deal?
Well, I think that Russia is in a winning position at the moment. It is already occupying about 25 to 27% of the territory in the Kursk region, where I think the Ukrainian troops had gone in, are under tremendous pressure and may have been already evicted. So Russia is in a better position today to negotiate in that. But they will also have to yield to some extent, and that's what the framework is going to be exactly, because whether you will allow all the territory that Russia has occupied to be controlled by them, because they have already assimilated, and you are seeing the attacks in Donetsk. So they want to capture as much as they can at the moment, so that it becomes easy for the negotiations. And so Russians are also maintaining the pressure, but I'm quite sure the Russians will also have to give and take, and there can be some kind of a framework.
Do you see President Trump putting some degree of pressure on Russia to reach a peace deal?
Indeed, I mean, he has been talking about it from day one, and the Russians have been open to this idea that they think that Trump is one person who can arrange it. Unfortunately, I mean, if you come to think of it for the Russians, this seems to be quite a godsend in any way, because fighting a war for 3 years and beyond is not going to be that easy even for the Russians. So even they want a war to end, and Trump wants us to show that this is what he stood for, and he has achieved. That in any case, he overtly is not against he's against all kinds of wars basically, and wants to end that. So I'm quite sure he has spoken to Putin, and Putin must have told him whatever his red lines are. His basic red lines are fundamentally that Ukraine is not going to be part of NATO, but Ukraine can be part of the European Union, and that is not the problem the Russians face.
Could a minerals deal be a bargaining chip for Ukraine, although a minor bargaining chip for Ukraine in any deal to end the conflict?
Well, I think that has become a minor deal. That's in a different way, because USA says that they have spent about $350 billion and they want that money back, and so they want to ensure. But indirectly, if the US gets invested in that minerals, that tends to provide a certain kind of securities. And that's precisely what I thought was going to be discussed during the meeting between Zelensky and they were about to sign the deal. But the meeting went haywire because everything became so public, and both sides took a vertical positions. And that's when I think I knew that. I mean, one could guess that Ukrainian is going to be on the receiving end henceforth.
So how confident can we be of a peace deal being struck between Ukraine and Russia in the near future?
I think it's quite doable, but it depends on what are the demands and to what extent. Because see, the Americans are also talking that in case Zelensky doesn't agree, that they will be talking to somebody else. And I believe that the US administration and some of the officials have been talking to some of the opposition and army figures and others for alternate leadership. So it looks like, as some people also say, that it is perhaps a complete recapitulation in that sense. But peace is always going to be good. At the end of the day, there should be a fair deal.
Okay, one looks forward to next week where Saudi Arabia is going to be host of more peace talks. Thank you very much, Anil Kumar Trigunayaji, for being on the show with us.